still kind of on accountability, and although, you know, like with that was also like I don't know, the less personal attacks and stuff. And I mean, we kind of stopped with that part of the conversation. I don't know if we want to continue that, and as a part of accountability, or I don't know, like where would people like to continue the meeting? And then after that, we were gonna also talk about strategy and maximizing platforms.
I don't know if she was on stuck for the last subject.
For accountability.
For accountability. So let's continue that conversation.
Okay. There is an issue that I'm very uncomfortable with, and I have not discussed it in the soundbox because it's a very uncomfortable space, and I don't want to name any names because the people involved are not here, and I really don't like people talking about people without their presence. I think that's really, really unethical, and kind of it's actually gossip in my opinion to talk about people without their presence. But this is such a strong issue that I am so concerned about that I'm going to tell we need to address it. And
Can you at least describe the
I don't know. I thought
problem or something?
I'm looking at Candace like, did you have like a direct response to want to interject or something?
I didn't want to inject. I just wanted to like respond when you were done speaking.
Oh, okay. So there is someone who has been making comments which could be interpreted, like when I first heard that this was happening, my first response was, that sounds like sexual harassment. And I'm being sexually harassed by a female with insinuations that I am somehow involved, like romantically or sexually, with a female, and that's not something that like should be tolerated ever at all whatsoever. And I'm extremely concerned about that, and I just want to give them
And I feel like unless like we know who the person is and we can talk about like that, how to hold that
there's a
person
post to the
accountable.
soundbox that everyone should have seen that people ignored, and
So I feel like unless the concern is brought in like a direct way in which we can like fully understand, then I don't know what we can do.
I don't like how have you not seen the post that's been at the top of the soundbox for a couple of days?
I mean, do you want to just be direct?
I mean, I think, I don't know. Maybe I also heard Alex say earlier too that he also didn't want to be talking. I mean, I agree with that in principle, not talking about people when they're not here. But maybe people have seen what you're talking about and don't know what you're talking about because names haven't been named. So I don't know. Maybe we can just talk about, you know, who had the conversation so that people, because then maybe people will say, oh, okay, now I know what that thread is. I mean, is that?
I mean, I just don't see the point of talking about like we're talk about it. If we're not gonna like talk about it, then maybe it should be talked about another time when that person's there. Like if the concern is not to talk about it, because the person's there, then maybe we should wait till the person's here to talk about it. Because if not, then we're not really talking about anything, and we're just like not talking about something we could actually talk about.
There are two people who are saying that we're very uncomfortable, that we feel like we are being sexually harassed, and you were saying you don't want to talk about it.
No, I'm saying talk about it. If you're gonna talk about it, say who is doing it, what is happening, and how, and like what we can do about it. If you're not gonna talk about who's doing it, and you're not gonna talk about what's happening, then we're not talking about it, and I don't know what to do about it. Like I don't know how we hold that person accountable, and I don't want like have a conversation where some people know what's going on and some others. I don't.
Or maybe we can just have a more general conversation about how we hold people accountable for inappropriate language. I mean, you know, or attacks or whatever. But I mean, I think there is kind of some difficulty to facilitate a conversation where, you know, about holding certain people accountable if they're not here, and we can't have a discussion about how to address that specific situation. But since the conversation is about accountability, we can talk about that. And hopefully that will help address the situation.
Can we sort of, sorry,
about like being. I know who and what you're talking about, but I can't
Thank
speak
you.
for everyone. But I think that we should talk about that. Uh, but I do want to maybe say that specifically, I think we should leave it until like all the parties are here. Um, but I do want to. But I don't want to seem like I don't want to dismiss your concerns, and I actually have similar concerns. I don't think that that's sort of like. I read some of what was written, and I didn't like it. You know, I didn't like it. So, so if we can talk right now about what we can talk about productively, I would say it's about future policy and how we want to deal with that, and like, you know,
Because we can't. It's I feel like that's kind of the same suggestion.
Yeah,
That
I
we
guess-
talk about how we can deal with those situations.
yeah, like I'm open to talking about how to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like unpacking that as an issue and acknowledging it. But I don't think that we can really feasibly come up with a solution if not everyone is here. But I'm totally down to talk about it. And I don't want to see. Again, I just don't want to seem like it's brushing it off.
Yeah, I also don't want to feel like I'm brushing it off either. Like, I think that like what we can talk about is like if we talk about like accountability and then like dealing with like code of conduct, and then that will like deal with like what is going on. But like that specific, I feel like we can't specifically deal with that specific issue unless we all know what's going on. So does that mean we want to move forward into accountability and then that can be
Like mechanisms of.
Can we make a plan of how and when we're gonna address this issue?
I think what everybody is trying to say that if we are developing mechanisms of accountability, it should also address that situation. So, as well as many others, if we're talking about any kind of oppression or abuse or harassment or anything like that, then, hopefully it will help address this situation in addition to many others.
I don't know, that feels fake to me. Like, yeah.
It has to be big, right? Because all the parties aren't here. Doesn't it have to be big?
How can we hold somebody accountable who's not here? Is why it sounds vague. But if we develop a proper mechanism for accountability, then why wouldn't we be able to apply that to that situation after today? Like when those other parties are present in the sandbox or elsewhere. So we're hearing your concern and we're saying this is how we think we would be able to address it is by talking about a mechanism that could address that in addition to other issues inside the sandbox. We would like to move forward with a mechanism of accountability for your concern as well as others.
I'm sorry, I'm not even hearing what you're saying because I'm so distracted by the tone. I'm sorry.
Wait, so do you want to be on stop?
Distracted? No.
Wait,
No, I'm sorry. Like,
do you want to be on stop? Would you like to be on stop? Yeah, I'll put you on stop. That's okay.
Okay. Wow.
So I would like if we had something in our process to deal with the question of all forms because like a lot of times like since it is like a political space, we'll talk about things and like people will say racist shit.
Yeah.
And like, and then they can say, well, that was a racist, or some people will treat people like patriarchal or like, sexist things and be like, that's not as if like those sort of things are just given on opinion, And so there needs to be a sort of like way of holding that kind of behavior accountable for especially social justice committee,
parties involved are not here, we can't really address the issue.
The specific event.
Huh? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
The specific event. I think we're trying to address the issue, but we can't address the specific event because someone isn't here.
Yeah, it's been in the sandbox for these 3 days. It's been discussed, like it's been at the top of the sandbox. So I'm like people not knowing like even what I'm talking about like is a little bizarre to me. And so okay, so if I'm hearing that wait, I'm a little confused. I thought I was hearing that because the parties involved are not here, we can't address accountability.
I thought I actually heard you say that. That was your reservation of bringing this up.
No. The thing that I didn't. I'm sorry. Can I clarify? I said that I don't want to name names of people who aren't here. Huh?
What are we supposed to do? What
How can we better address the issue then?
If we don't know who it is.
Okay, so what I'm asking for clarity on is how can we address the issue? That 2 people in the sandbox are saying that they are being sexually harassed. I don't know why you look so confused. Like I'm baffled.
Can we just?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really upset. I'm sorry.
So I was gonna progress the start. So I would do Amari then Heather.
Okay. We know that one of the people is you. Who is the other person? Obviously that person isn't here, right?
Obviously.
Okay, so what do you expect us? What are we?
So
What are we
sorry.
supposed to accomplish here?
So I'm asking, can we make a meeting and ask this other person? Well, obviously one of the people doesn't live near here. The person who is making the accusation, who made the accusation in the sandbox, doesn't live in the area, so that person can't come. But the person who is being accused does live near here, like does live in the Los Angeles area. Can we arrange a meeting with that person to address the issue?
So well, you have a point of clarity.
Yeah, I was just clear. You're talking about PJ living somewhere else, or?
I wasn't gonna name any names. Like,
Well,
Heather.
I just. Well, I mean, is she coming back?
I don't know.
I'm just wondering.
I know. I just don't have to meeting.
Yeah, sorry.
Like Heather.
So both of these people are in the sandbox, and regardless of where they live, and process also takes place inside the sandbox, and I would suggest that if we can agree on mechanisms of checking oppressive behavior, including sexual harassment, that we can actually apply that in the sandbox with those 2 people present.
I don't feel comfortable in the sandbox. And actually, I've been kicked out of the sandbox.
Do you want to go and back for that, Patty?
I think you all heard me.
Yeah.
Again, that conversation is already happening in the sandbox.
I'm not currently in the sandbox, so.
Okay, so then would you prefer if we waited until you returned to the sandbox for us to address that issue, or would you like for us to discuss how we might be able to address that issue in the next couple of days by practicing collective responsibility and participating in that conversation? I mean, either we can agree to collectively address that situation in the next few days, or we can agree to wait until you return to the sandbox and are able to participate in that conversation. Like, what would be your preference?
I don't think we should wait. I mean, because there's still someone in the sandbox being sexually harassed.
And so your preference would be?
I would prefer that it be dealt with as soon as possible. I'm asking you guys how, like, I'm asking for help.
In what form? I heard you say before that you would like the person who is being accused to meet with us in person with you. Is that your preference to address this issue? Because you said you're not comfortable with the sandbox. And I don't know if even talking about the other person who is not in LA is appropriate, even if the two of you are here for an in-person meeting. I think we just want some clarification about how you would feel about our best being able to address this.
Can I get on stack then?
Okay,
Or
so Brian's on
can I
stack.
direct response or?
You've been doing the direct response.
Okay.
So it'd be fair for everyone else too. Like I'm gonna stack. So I'll put you on stack.
Thank you.
Yeah, just because we're doing direct response, it felt a little back and forth between Patty specifically. So I was hoping we could have a consensus decision on what we wanted to move forward with. If we wanted to move forward with this specific issue now, or if we wanted to, what our preference was as a group. And secondly, I just wanted to say the reason I brought up when Patty's exclusion was going to be happening now or after the meeting was because I was worried about this type of instruction happening in this meeting, not moving forward. So, just so that's on record.
Can I ask a question with authority?
You're on the spot.
What obstruction are we talking about?
This.
What obstruction?
This.
What is an obstruction? What specifically obstruction?
This is what's happening. Like, this is it.
Well, I think he's referring to the impasse on being able to address the situation while you are taking hiatus from the team. So, because it also wouldn't be fair for us to address this situation without you, right? And you say you're not comfortable in the sandbox and this and that. So like we're at an impasse on addressing that specific situation here if you're also, taking a break from the team. And so I mean, I feel like everybody is saying, let's talk about mechanisms in general so that we can begin to address the situation and, and start practicing collective responsibility that way. But, that we're kind of at an impasse here, that's kind of obstructive for this particular meeting because we don't feel like we can adequately address that one situation.
So, what would we need?
Did you want to be on stack?
I'm already on stack. I haven't even spoken yet. Like I had something to say, and then I asked questions with clarity, and then she interjected. Wow. I'm shocked. Like I'm shocked that I'm coming to you and saying, hey, I'm feeling sexually harassed, and then I'm being spoken to this way. That's really shocking. And now you're like smiling or giggling or laughing. That's really shocking. You're smiling and laughing and giggling. Like what the fuck?
Here we go with the victimization. Can we come to a decision?
So was that what you wanted to say on stack?
Okay. So no.
So then please go ahead because you're on stack.
Patty's on stack. Patty's on stack right now. But she's on stack.
I'm sorry, I'm so distracted by like the ridiculousness of the situation that I totally forgot what I was gonna say.
So do you want me to come back to you?
Sure.
So I'm gonna progress this stack and then
I got it. What do we need to address the situation? Do we need a face-to-face meeting with the person who's been accused? Do we need to make up a whole new process? Like, what do we need to address this?
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. I might tell you some specifics.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, a truck went by.
Even louder.
Okay. I'll probably at some point, if you want to know, I'll tell you how I've been affected by a lot of this type of situation when we're not streaming. But I don't want to say too much. But if people can't learn to put personal different, I don't know any of you except Marco. I know Marco a long time, but I just don't want to see what's happening on the East Coast happen here, because there's a reason all of you are interested in Occupy. There's a reason we're all wanting to be part of the movement.
Yeah, it might be a
And
fit.
if you can't, when I say you, I don't mean you specifically. I mean Occupy in general. Occupy's reputation has gone downhill because of personal attacks. And I promise you, none of you have been attacked like I have. I promise you. I can tell you.
I'm sorry. This is kind of out
I
of
understand.
process. 'Cause-
But what I'm trying to say, I'll say this and I'll be done.
well, if you could actually stick to the topic at
I
hand.
am.
Okay.
I am. I'm
that would
trying
be
to. I'm
helpful.
trying to say that if you, as a group, as a movement, if we can't put personal issues aside, and that's kind of all I've been
Yeah, I'm
hearing.
sorry.
I understand
This
that.
is not a personal issue. I mean,
Well,
we are actually trying to address concerns.
I understand that.
And that's not helping address the
Should she finish
Okay.
speaking?
Yeah, can you let her finish
like
speaking? Everyone else
I
was
know
loud.
I'm an outsider, but I've been involved in Occupy for a long time. And if I haven't heard anything about what Occupy LA is about, as far as their social agenda, as far as what issues that affect LA. I'm just saying that that's kind of what's hurting Occupy on the East Coast, and I hate to see that happen here. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
So in regards to accountability, so I would think that like if we define certain things, like so if we came into like a consensus, like at a collective to define like what is racism, what is like patriarchy, what is like define the behavior of like what is sexual harassment, and so that like and then and I feel like we should teach them on this stuff. Like I feel like we really people have been saying things like reverse racism, and that's not a real thing.
It's so real.
So like if we could have like a teach-in on like
beyond
certain
real.
things, and I feel like to address what is happening, right? Because like there's sexual assault going on, there's like racial assault going on, there's patriarchal assault going on, there's like all sorts of like people acting in oppressive behaviors, and all of that needs to be called out. So if we can start to, I feel like first defining these things, then in that way it's easier to call out, so it leaves less room for that. So then like maybe we can come up with like a separate group that would be like the working group on this, like
For accountability.
well on like just creating like the oppressive like definition. And so like then we can have that, and then like once we do that, then like I guess the next thing is like how do we hold people accountable for that? And I feel like the 75% rule doesn't really work. So I think that like but then also like you don't want to give too much power to like managers of just being able to do that. So I think that like so that would be the question. Is like what can we do other than pull and like just leaving it up to managers for process. Alex?
I'll take a pass.
I just wanted to echo the importance of defining these things, because I feel like that really is definitely getting in the way of accountability, because there's a lot of disagreement about what are these things, and along the same lines I feel like like more discrete forms of aggression, for example, never get called out. Like microaggressions, passive aggressions, these kinds of things, because they seem to slip under the radar, because we don't have like a common agreement about how we define these things. And so yes, I just want to say yes, please, let's do that, because I think that would go a long ways in helping us practice collective responsibility and accountability.
Yeah, these are all good ideas. I want to just say whether or not a statement is racist or patriarchal or something, we're all colonized with these types of ideas. So to me, what matters is the social contract within OLASM that aims to have people to agree to a sincere anti-apologist behavior, and that we should ask more why those folks aren't holding themselves accountable. And because that came up with Patty, that came up with Joel, that came up with a lot of people, then my question is, why aren't they holding themselves accountable, right? If I had an account X, Y, and Z, like, I'd hold myself accountable. If over 50% of my teammates working in the sandbox didn't want me there, I would hold myself accountable. So I think having a social contract people buy into as when they participate in this closed group, that then if they're not holding themselves accountable, we can say, hey, you agreed to do this. It's clearly not sincere. So them holding themselves accountable is my main.
I don't know, any someone recommends Alex Welford let you go just for second.
Yeah, I forgot. I wrote down what I wanted to say. Just as a general standard, what I'm listening to and what are the concerns I'm hearing, I'm trying to coagulate that into a guideline. And what I came up with is that we should not divulge information about each other that can be used against us by the state. I think that's a really good guideline. I don't want to hear how someone is gay. I don't want to hear about my sexuality in the sandbox. I don't want to hear about anyone. I don't want to hear people calling other people a political ideology, especially when that political ideology is basically illegal. And I think that we should all take into mind that everything we say it can and will be used against us in the court of the United States government, and so we should not be giving them ammo in any way. So yeah, I don't condone people saying, like, bringing out like personal shit about each other that really doesn't need to be there, unless it is with the consent of them, or they bring it out first, or something like that. I mean, that's totally acceptable. Like, but I'm all about pride, and I'm all about like being open. So you should of course be enabled to say what you want about yourself, and with the consent of others, maybe say something about them. But I would still exercise a lot of caution about saying like my anarchist friend or my whatever. Yeah, my black rice.
I put you on spot because there's been a lot of direct responses. So,
Did anyone else have a direct response for Alex?
I was on staff, so I let him do the rest of the stuff.
No, but I just wanted a direct response to what he said.
Just like, there's been a lot of direct responses.
Like, I could have already said it before. No, I could have been done with the direct response, but now we're arguing about direct response.
We did agree to this at the beginning of the meeting. We do a temperature check on how we felt. We want to do that right now.
I thought we already agreed to direct responses.
But then we would agree to do a temperature check and see how we felt if it didn't feel right. We agreed to that at the beginning of this meeting, right? So do we want to do that now? Because I feel like there's some concerns about too many direct responses.
It's about direct responses.
Yeah, so do we want to continue direct responses? Four against, 2 for, and 2 abstaining. So that's a majority. It's not consensus.
But I have you on stuff next, so I just want to say
just short stack.
Okay. Yeah, so like to what you said about like how, saying anything, like someone in the sandbox says a lot of times like you're anti-American and like says that a lot, and that's very like, like it's a very state like, rhetoric, and it's very dangerous to say that, and especially like just, and it's it's like, and to say it can be untrue, like, and also to, that same person said it on the page about the poster, and so like people like, that's why we post the like COINTELPRO like, techniques so many times, because it's really important for people to read, so that, we don't do, like we just are mindful of these sort of things. And then when you were talking about the code of conduct, or like the contract or whatever, like I was thinking like, the issue with the OLASM before was that it was too close, it was too small of a group, and it was really hard to get the committee. But now, now it's like almost to the point where like like we had it where like that one poll where Joe was being removed and he like added someone from the page like, you know, there also needs to be some sort of like security with regards to that too. And so like I feel like if we do come up with some sort of like social contract, that it should also be like, you know, someone like vouching this person in, and that person has to agree to that contract before they get in the sandbox. Like I feel like that needs to be discussed in like, you know, the committee, because we have 63 people in the committee, and like then, you know, not 63 people are participating. And then we had that one time with that one guy who added like 15 people to the committee. Like, you know, like these are just things that like we need to talk about, because then it also doesn't help to make things productive when like we're having to explain things like, you know, situations when, you know, people are being brought in to vote in polls or for other reasons or whatever, you know, that doesn't provide a safe working space. So like also dealing with that, like how to still be horizontal and allow people to participate, but not also just like, you know, but being realistic with what's going on and like power plays are being made.
Can I get unstacked for this?
Sure. I have Patty and then I'll take it.
Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to add to what Alex was saying. I really like it. I think it's really great. I really like the idea that we not speak about other people. That I think that's great.
Well, obviously this is a concern for everyone. I understand the severities on multiple sides. I see it. Could I suggest that maybe we table the whole concept for the GA and maybe make it a blanket ethical thing? Like, in other words, who cares what committee you belong to, but you're going to be ethical. Bottom line. Who cares what committee you belong to, but you're not going to lie, cheat, or steal. Bottom line. And if you do it, get out. I mean, I'll tell you, I learned from Occupy Jackson, Mississippi. They were very selective on who they allowed into their group, period. Even to the general anything. And what happened? They were the first group to be an official 501c3. If anyone doesn't know what that means, it means an official non-for-profit organization. Yeah, that's right. And they actually got themselves office space donated by city officials with a lease, because they had the legal ramifications to accept such a thing. So I'm just saying, I'm not suggesting you guys go there and do that. But what I am suggesting, that make it a blanket ethical thing. Otherwise, you're going to say, well, this committee is only ethical to point A, but other committee is only ethical to point B, and now we got a whole other argument about which committee is more important over the other committee. And then, again, issues like now, 3 hours in, not one issue has been discussed. I mean, so there. And I don't see that either.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Marco.
Yeah.
You know, just again, I brought this up before, but because you haven't been in LA and you don't know things, like we had that whole deal available. We all came to consensus to reject it, and we were still in camp.
Okay.
So there's like a lot of stuff, you know.
Right, there wasn't here for that.
Came to consensus to reject 501c3 and all that.
Okay.
So there's a whole history there. Just want to say that as a side note.
Yeah, it's a side note.
A lot of different stuff going on.
But now, what about the blanket part? I mean, the idea of bring it to the GA, since it's just a little. I'm still on stack, I guess. You know, since GA is in a half hour, right? Bring it to them and make a blanket code of ethics. Really basic bullet points. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Done. Pay your own way.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I mean, like, the reason why I got on stack is because, again, this is out of process. I mean, we are like the social media committee, so we're here to discuss social media, you know, as our role, how we function,
Okay.
you know, what our goals are, and that kind of thing. And although we are a committee of OLA, we do not organize in this space. We do not, you know, like, we don't. The only thing that this committee would bring to the GA is report backs from what happened here, so that the GA can be informed about what this committee is doing.
Well,
That's it.
Isn't that what this is, though? I mean, if you don't report back,
No,
let
sorry.
me finish, please. If you don't report back, okay, then what are you accomplishing?
We do.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, the current structure of Occupy LA. Go back to
It's such a waste of time.
We just
Yeah,
talk about
can you get
process.
back
We're discussing about process, the process mongrels, process whores. Just make your own videos and stuff, really.
Do you have something about accountability?
I just don't know who you are, and you're saying a lot of things that the city pushes, and I'm just asking, like, what's the, I don't know. It's just
I just don't know who I
So the
am.
record.
The concern is on the record. Can we please wait for
Okay,
the
so
agenda?
so then, okay, so I was gonna finish that. So then can
For
we,
being
so
smart.
moving
That's why I just do
forward,
my own shit.
can we maybe like take methods on like forming this working group to deal with
Define
like
oppression?
to define oppression? It sounds great, like defining oppression. To like
forms of
yeah,
depression.
yeah, and then like coming up with the process to deal with that.
Okay.
So.
So the only ones
and
left are
then
agents.
maybe we could do that, and we
Fake
could create like a
puppets.
Facebook group.
I like the idea of doing it in the sandbox.
Fake
Or we could
puppets.
do it as an event page, and that
Fake
way it will
puppets.
stay out of the workspace of the sandbox. You know, I mean, I don't know. I've suggested we do polls and stuff in event pages too, because like you can have an event page inside the group, and then it stays within the group, but it doesn't disturb, you know, our posting workspace.
So we can get doing it as like an event.
Within the group.
Does anyone want to like
I don't know who you are.
create that and initiate that?
Yeah.
An admin maybe should.
Well, I don't.
Speaking of that,
Okay, I mean, we should maybe put that on the agenda too, but okay, I guess my concern about doing the event is that, you know, we also just kind of at least post that in the sandbox and say, hey, I mean, well, so I mean, just so that we're clear. I mean, I'm sure everybody's thinking, okay, the same thing, but let's just kind of,
Yeah.
for the record, say this is going to be the process. Somebody's going to create the event, and it's going to be posted in the sandbox so that people can contribute to that conversation. And I don't know if we want to like have a different thread for maybe types, other questions that we would like to, you know, begin to define, so that, because I also have some concerns about, you know, like information getting lost or not being compiled. So like I like the idea of maybe at least keeping, you know, like sexual harassment on one thread and, you know, racism on another thread, and do that kind of thing so that people can
Separation,
you know, find topics
separation,
that they want to
separation.
information, you know, for
Sorry.
those definitions.
Let's see.
So yeah,
I'll
so then
suggest it
I'll
offline,
volunteer
but-
to make that tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. So then, you know.
then
Yay!
Alright.
Start.
Success.
Um,
Another meeting next Wednesday.
I think we are. What time do we have? 6:30.
I really gotta get
Anybody
going.
would like to go participate or talk, then I think that's starting.
no, let's start with
I think it's like 6:15 actually. So I mean, and they, I don't know. Some people, I've been there a lot of times. I know that like you're welcome to come late. They sometimes don't even have facilitators by now, and so I don't know. Just want to put that out there. And again, I mean, like we are scheduled for another half hour. I don't know if people feel like that was enough for today, and because we also did not
6:33.
we did
I
not
really
deal
gotta get
with
going.
like strategy and maximizing utilization of the various platforms, and you know, things like which was our second biggest item. I mean, and looking over this again, it's like it pretty much everything fell into those two categories, like accountability and, you know, and strategy and platforms.
Nothing got done.
So I don't know if in a half an hour we'll be able to like really digest into the strategy and that stuff, but we did want to talk about like the fact that we still have like we only have 2 sandbox managers. We only have 1 active page manager whose time is supposed to be up for renewal. And then I know we tried to have a poll and that didn't really happen. So
guidelines do state that it is supposed to rotate.
Yeah.
That people, so, because like our one-page manager is also taking a consecutive term, and for lack of a better word, and so that we would run those polls again to have new people for all of those positions. And do you also, I mean, I'm kind of hearing that you would also like to change the sandbox admin guideline, so run a third poll that would like increase the number of sandbox admins to like 5 or 7 or I don't know what.
Because it would have to be one poll, right? For the sandbox, just regarding sandbox, not page manager, because you couldn't have like, because then if you have a poll for who's going to be sandbox, then you would have to have like another poll to add. So like maybe we can say like we need like 6 sandbox page managers. It's going to end up just being like, unless like it's different than the last poll. Like then whatever 6 people or 8 or 10 whoever put it up there, then like whoever gets the it's going to be like a popularity contest. Unfortunately, because that's how like polls work.
Well, and technically, okay, so the first time that we did this, what happened was the 3 people who got the top 3 most votes were made page managers, and then the next 3 were made sandbox admins. So I mean, and I would have to revisit that guideline to see if it actually says that you have to run one poll for both. Because the other hitch is that anybody who is a content creator cannot be either of those roles. And so my concern would be that we're, okay, like already we have, I don't know, let's say we have 10 content creators or something, so that like eliminates. No, that are not active maybe, but who actually still technically hold that role. And so okay, I'm just saying my concern is that we, that limits some of that, those possibilities, and that because of the guideline stating that it cannot be the same people, and that also if you increase the number of sandbox admins, then we also need to have more people step up, for those roles. So I don't know. I just want to put that out there that we're asking for a lot of people, and in consideration of that, I'm personally willing, since I've had limitations and like not been inspired to say the least because of the environment in the sandbox, that I'm willing to step back on content creating and put myself up for admin or page manager or whatever, however that comes about. I personally also feel like that maybe we should just have those as separate polls, because as I recall, the guidelines do not state that both of those positions have to take place in the same poll. I think they're 2 very different things, because page management is like a security thing, whereas sandbox admins actually are often called on for accountability and to act on consensus of the committee. So I think they're 2 very different things, and that it shouldn't be like whoever gets the most is how you get into those slots. It doesn't make sense to me.
Hey, I gotta take off, but I'll see you
Me
later.
too. Yeah, me too. Okay. Do you want to sign off to them or?
So I wanted to.
All right, guys. See you later.
Hey, I want to see that.
I
wanna see the
am
comments
Marco
on the-
Barrios. That's who I am. I'm not a stranger.
I wanna see,
Here, let me see.
Not a cop or a fed either.